But at the same time, we must have firm enough boundaries. The law must give firm enough boundaries to business to push them in the right direction while allowing them to use their own creative, innovative way of creating business in a way that doesn't destroy the environment or exploit people. And in doing that, finding out how to do that, the starting point is then the grand challenge of our time, securing the social foundation for people everywhere now and in the future within planetary boundaries. So our conclusion is that we actually need to introduce this concept of planetary boundaries into company law. Not because it gives clear and simple answers. There are no simple answers to complex questions. But because it signifies that there are actually limits and that we all need to work together to find out how we can bring our societies, our economies, our business within these limits. It also shows us that it's not just about climate change, it's about a range of interconnected issues where the loss of biodiversity and the introduction of novel entities into nature potentially are equally dangerous as the climate emergency that we are facing. And thirdly, it also shows us that ignorance is not an option. As Sarah Bach in Australia, she's done a lot of work with this, with the corporate board members, saying that you don't actually have the choice to say that I don't believe in climate change. It's not something to believe in, it's science. So natural science, the work in progress natural science combined with the precautionary principle must inform the choices that are made. And then it's not just about that, it's about the social foundation as well. And what are we speaking about when we're speaking about the social foundation? Well, we're speaking about human rights. That certainly is a part of it. But it's not enough to speak about human rights. As Samuel Moyn has shown in his book, Not Enough, it's not enough. Human rights hasn't gone far enough to say that respecting human rights in itself will secure the social foundation of humanity. It's about ensuring human dignity. It's about ensuring decent work. It's about allowing all the children of this world to have the possibility of a good future. That's what it's about. So it's complex and it's so important. Based on this, we suggest that the purpose of the company, of business, should be redefined to be about creating sustainable value within planetary boundaries. Whatever the area, whatever the specific business area, that should be the overarching purpose. And to operationalize that through the duties of the board, we need clear duties within principle-based but clear, within a foundation, within boundaries that shows the board what it must do, starting out with a commitment to the overarching purpose and continuing with an adjustment of the business model where that is necessary. We can't just say that, oh yeah, we're in this business with all these global value chains and modern slavery and environmental destruction, so it's a bit difficult to adjust that. That is the first question. What are we actually doing and how can we adjust that to do it in a way that can at least be claimed to be sustainable, and then we can gradually find out more and more what sustainable business actually is. And the board also needs to have the duty to develop a strategy to make sure that this is implemented not in the company, but in the business of the company, which more often than not will include global value chains. It needs to take the full life cycle-based responsibility for what it is doing. And to be able to do that, it also needs to integrate this into internal control and risk management structures, which is what boards have been responsible for doing for centuries to ensure that the financial interests are taken into account. But now to move further and to include the whole sustainability aspect it needs to base its decision on stringent sustainability assessments, using sustainability due diligence throughout its global value chains. On the environmental issues, not limited to climate, the whole range. On the social issues, through open and participatory processes where a special care must be taken to ensure that the needs and the concerns of the most vulnerable people, those who usually aren't asked what they think about a new business moving into an area, that they are taken into consideration and included properly through proper open participatory processes. And also through the governance issues, through anti-corruption, anti-bribery, anti-tax evasion. The social turbulence that we see is partly created through the undermining of the basis of our welfare systems by international business choosing whether and where it will pay tax. And this needs to be enforced. It's time we take people and the environment as seriously as we have taken financial interest for years. It's not enough with nudging, with asking for reporting or your policy. It's actually taking these things seriously. So this is something that we are developing, a concrete proposal for how this can be enforced and included. And that will give a basis for verified, relevant and reliable reporting, not as the starting point, but as a part of a continuous process. That is what we need to do. This is the first time I've actually included a photo on my last slide. This little girl, she reminds me of my youngest daughter when she was little. I could have taken a picture of my youngest daughter instead, but then it would have been private. I don't want to be private, but I do want to be personal. Because this is what it's all about. Whether this little girl, whoever she is and wherever she is, if she wants to continue dancing, that she will have a chance to do so. Thank you.
Are there any quick follow-up